All right, here's your writing assignment for today. It's going to be a little bit more involved than your previous writing assignments, just to start putting many of these elements together that you're used to seeing and that you've been practicing, of course. All right, so again, this is just built around the teaks that you should be literate in music. It means include reading and writing. So I am going to start by drawing a staff. And again, the ruler here is completely optional, but I have found that the ruler does not slow me down or speed me up. It just makes everything look so much neater. You're going to end up needing two of these, but we're just going to go one at a time for right now. So I'm going to show you what you're going to be doing. What you can do is, once I've done this, you can pause this video, and then you can stop and copy what I've done, and then resume the video and go into the next step. So I am drawing a staff first. So if you would like to pause the video once I'm done drawing my staff, and then you draw your staff, 4 lines. You need 5 lines and 4 spaces, right? Once I do that, you can pause the video and draw your staff. Okay, and I pretty much always go the length of the paper, as you can see right there. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is draw a treble clef. Now what you're going to see is me drawing a treble clef in my handwriting rather than the perfect treble clef that you see me draw in demonstration for you. You should try to draw the treble clef the way that you have been taught to draw it, and eventually you will develop your own handwriting as well. Okay, it's a little bit smoother motion. I'm used to drawing them a little bit smaller than that. 1 treble clef on the left side. So if you need to pause and do that now, go ahead. Otherwise, you may continue. We're going to add something new that we haven't talked much about. Some of you might have noticed that it's missing. I'm going to add what looks like a fraction, 2 numbers, a 4 stacked on top of a 4. And the reason my 4s look so sloppy is because, again, I'm not used to writing these quite so big. Okay, a 4 stacked on top of a 4 like that, that is called a time signature. That will be important in the future, but for now it will not be important. It is not vital to what we are doing. Now, all those quarter notes and half notes and eighth notes and whole notes that you have been practicing, we're going to head and start using those now. We're going to put our first quarter note today in space 1. So start by drawing the note head. Draw it open first, make sure it touches the line 1 and the line 2, and then color it in. Okay, remember that this quarter note is going to be in the space. So it touches the lines, but the lines do not actually cut through it. And then when our stem, when the note head is on the lower half of the staff, that's how we know that the stem is going to go upwards, and upward stem go on the right side. And that's going to go up to about halfway to the 4th space like that. Our next quarter note is going to do the same thing, except it's going to be in the 2nd space. Okay, 2nd quarter note, 2nd space. Make sure it touches the lines, color it in. Remember, your job here is not to go fast. It's to be as pretty as possible. You want it to be pretty, not fast and sloppy. Once again, stem on the right side, and this time it's going to extend above the staff a little bit. So both of these were on the bottom half of the staff. The next 2 quarter notes are going to be on the top half of the staff, and our stems are going to point down. We're going to skip all the way up to the 4th space. Again, this is why college ruled paper works best. If I were working with a wide ruled paper, these notes would be very, very, very large. Okay, downward stems, right? They go to the left. Downward stems go to the left. And they're going to be the same length as these stems over here. Okay, and now we're going to come back down to the 3rd space, which we were missing before. We're still in the top half of the staff. We're still in the top half of the staff. So these stems are also going to go downwards. One of the drawbacks of using a mechanical pencil is the tip is so small that I have to do a lot more coloring. The stem's pointing down. Now we're going to draw a bar line. And that's going to be our first measure for today. And you say, Mister, you said the measure was a space between two bar lines, and there's no bar line over here. And that's true. Oftentimes on the left ends of staves, there's no bar line written. There's a bar line implied. It's like the sentence, go to the store. And you say, well, what's the subject in the sentence? Well, the subject is you go to the store, but we don't say the you, right? It's just the you is implied, but it's not there. The bar line over here for this first measure is implied, but it's not actually there, just like that sentence. Our last measure on this particular staff is going to be very, very simple. We're just going to do 2 half notes, and we're going to do a half note on the second line, on line 2. And since it's on the bottom half of our staff, stem goes up. And then we're going to do another half note on line 1. I made that head I think I made that head a little bit too big, but that's okay. Stem up again. And then I'm going to go ahead and draw a double bar line. Now, I'm going to do this because this looks nice and neat if I do it this way. So if that's double bar line means we're at the end of the piece for now. I'm going to go ahead and erase the excess parts of my staff. If you're working out of a composition book, you probably just about ran out of paper. That was probably just the right amount of music in your composition book. 2 measures is what you fit. If we'd gone a little bit smaller with this stuff on this end here for this spiral notebook, probably could have fit a 3rd measure here on this end. But I know some of you are working out of composition books, so I wanted to make it fit in that. All right, next step is we're going to skip 2 spaces here. We're going to skip 2 spaces right here, and we're going to go ahead and draw a second staff below that one. Once again, at any point after I give some instructions, you can pause the video and look at what's on the screen and then copy that down like that. So if you're going right along with me, that's fine. If you're needing to pause, that's fine too. 3 lines. I should be counting. The problem is I'm talking. I can't talk and count at the same time because my brain and math do not get along very well. I can do it. My brain just doesn't like it. Everybody's different. There are people I know and I've spent a lot of time with who love math, just absolutely adore math, not me. All right, so we've got our second staff now. All right, so I got to see if I can move the phone just a little bit more there. All right, this one we're going to add a bass clef. Remember, we're going to start the curve or our half heart in the 3rd space, and it's going to be the right side of a heart. And if it extends down the bottom a little bit, that's okay. A lot of times you'll see it really a little bit further down here. Sometimes you'll see it stop in the 1st space. It doesn't really matter. Okay, it's just kind of a matter of handwriting. And then we add our 2 dots. We're also going to need a time signature here. Okay, once again, I'm going to use 2 4s. In fact, I'll make the 4s look like they usually look like in the music instead of with my handwriting. And I just have to make them a little extra dark because they kind of blend in with the lines of the staff, right? Kind of looks a little bit weird, so I'm taking time to make them just a little bit bigger. They don't look quite as ridiculous as the ones I had above. Okay, on this one, we're going to start with our half notes first. So we're going to do some half notes that are on the top 2 lines. So the line 4 and line 5. Let's do line 5 first. See if I can make this look not too big. I think that was just about right. Again, stems go downward. So some of you were probably wondering on that first day I had you draw these, and we're going to go 4th line. When I had you draw these, it's like, well, some of them go stems up and some of them go stems down. What's the difference? The difference is just where it appears on the music. If you're on the bottom half of the music, you're going to go stems up. If you're on the top half of the music, we're going to go stems down. That way we don't have stems just flying off into the stratosphere. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and draw a bar line again. And once again, that's a measure. Believe it or not, that's a measure, even though we don't have a bar line over here because the bar line is implied. All right, and we're going to do some 8th notes. We're going to do some 8th notes over here. And we're going to stick with the 8th notes that you know how to draw. Okay, so we're going to go line 2, And we're going to cheat on this one. Line 1. Line 2. And line 3. The reason we're cheating is we're drawing in the note heads first. Now we're going to go in and add all of our stems. Now here comes the big question, right? So the big question is, this is on line 3. This is neither on the bottom side, nor is it on the top side. Or you could think it's both on the bottom side and the top side. What way do we direct the stems when a note is on line 3? And that depends on the notes around it. We already know that these 3/8 notes down here have the stems going up because they're on the bottom half of the staff. And these are 8th notes, not quarter notes, so we are going to add flags to these. I'm going to make my flags a little extra fancy. And so what you want to do is, if the majority of your notes in the measure already have the stems going one direction, then you just make the one line 3 note go the same direction. So we're just going to make it go upwards as well. It just looks nicer that way. And so that's traditionally what we have done. So that's the only rule about that, is like, well, which way does the stem go when it's right in the middle of the staff? It depends on what's around it. Now our measure is not quite complete yet. We're going to add one more note. It's going to be a half note, and we're going to put that half note on space. We're going to go space 3, right there. Space 3. Open head, stem down. Double bar line. You have one more task today. And then this is all in the service of learning to write music nice and pretty. This is something you can give to your mom and dad, and maybe they hang it on the fridge, because now you've like drawn the prettiest music ever, right? So for your practice session today, okay, I'm gonna twist the phone. This is the one I've been dreading to teach you. I think the treble clef is the most technically difficult one, but once you learn it, it flows so much easier. This one, the quarter rest, is just one of these ones that's just weird enough that it just requires some thought. So I want you to think like the letter Z, right? So if I draw a Z, you have this left to right, then down to the left, then left to right, right? So what we want to be able to do is we want to slant that so it looks more like lightning. That's really the focal point of our quarter rest, is that shape right there. It's like a Z, but it's kind of stretched out and it goes downwards. All right, so that's how you want to think of the start of your quarter rest, is a Z that kind of goes downwards. Z. Okay, and then once you get to the bottom of the Z, you add the letter C, like that. And that's what a quarter rest looks like. And so you can do that in one stroke. You just kind of pause the pencil, right? Z, C, Z, C, Z, C. That Z didn't look quite the same as the other, but still very clearly a quarter rest. All right. So you're going to fill up the page with fill up these one row of that, okay? And you notice it takes me about 2 spaces to do that. I think 2 spaces looks about right. Same with the 8th rest. And the 8th rest, I start with the booger, or the funny hair, for those of you who like to call it that. I was always taught it was a 7 with a booger on its nose. So I curl the 7 up and then go ahead and bring it back down. Start with the funny hair, curl it up, bring it down. Funny hair, curl it up, bring it down. So you're going to go quarter rests all the way across this way, and then 8th rests all the way across this way, and that's just your practice on this. So now you should have a page that looks nice and pretty. And let me go ahead and unmount my phone so you can see it just a little bit better. I have my phone on a crane mount here. Okay, so that's what your page should look like. And I'll complete the page and put a picture of it up at the end, I think. All right, so that's your work for today.